If you had a PS2 in the early 2000s, then you were in for the time of your life. Sly Cooper, Jak and Daxter, and Ratchet & Clank, good lord, the A+ quality of games was fantastic! 3D platformers were at their peak, and Sony had some of the best. While Nintendo had Super Mario Sunshine, and Xbox had... I honestly don't know what Xbox had because I only had one for a little while and I mainly played Knights of the Old Republic on it. The point is, Sony dominated the market during its heyday with the PS2. And I was lucky enough to get a PS2 for Christmas as a small boy from my wonderful, wonderful grandmother. However, the game that came with it was Echo the Dolphin, so hey, I don't know, maybe that was a terrible Christmas after all. But what you're all here for is Sly Cooper, and let me tell you, that game was fantastic when it first came out. Praised by the masses, it became a critical success. And I loved it so much. But does it still hold up today? Or are my memories just shielded by rose-tinted glasses? That's what we're gonna find out today on my review of Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoonus. Up until recently, I've never owned many games. I mainly just played the heck out of a few that I had. Of course, I did get to rent a game every so often, which was wonderful and a nice change of pace. One of the games that I rented as much as possible was Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoonus. I've always been a fan of stealth games, and this one really piqued my interest. The visuals were so aesthetically pleasing, and I had played Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie quite religiously. So, I was looking for another platformer similar to the likes of those games. And boy, did I find it. However, I'll spare you the details of my small self spending hours in front of the TV, playing as a furry raccoon, and skip to a much more recent date. In mid-2012, I had a pretty serious wrist injury. Along with not being able to use a computer mouse, I was also told I may have early arthritis. So if you can't already guess, I was at a very low point in my life. I was mainly doing videos on my previous channel, so being out of commission was a very big blow to me. I was thrown out of the loop that I was used to, cast into a bed to just lie down and hope my wrist wouldn't start hurting on me again. And it was an absolutely terrible time in my life. But one fateful day, I decided to browse the PlayStation Store to see if I could find something to play. Seeing as how I could hold a PS3 controller quite comfortably, it was nice to be able to do something besides stare at my ceiling all day. And it was at that time that I found the remastered version of Sly Cooper. A rush of nostalgia and memories instantly flooded me as I purchased the game. Now, I had no idea if it would be good, but good lord did I remember all the good times I had as a child playing this game. So with my little story out of the way, let us jump into the story of Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoonus. Sly Cooper is a platforming stealth game created by Sucker Punch Productions, also known as the guys behind the infamous series. It was released in 2002 for the PlayStation 2. The game focuses on Sly Cooper, a descendant from a long line of master thieves and his gang Bentley and Murray. As the game starts, we're presented with Sly stealing information from Carmelita Fox's office, who I'll get much more into later, which leads them to learning the location of the Fiendish Five. We're then presented with a flashback where Sly tells us that the Fiendish Five murdered his father and tore apart the Thievius Raccoonus, which is a book that recorded the journeys and skills of the ancestors of the Cooper line. The Fiendish Five split the Thievius Raccoonus into 5 pieces and disappeared to different corners of the world. I'd also like to point out real quick that they straight up murdered his father in front of him, but apparently that didn't scar him for life, so hey. With all of that said and done, Sly was then sent to an orphanage where he met his closest friends, Bentley and Murray. Bentley being the smarty pants and Murray being the not so smarty pants. They eventually left the orphanage and formed the Cooper Gang, where they pulled off all kinds of heists and robberies. One thing to note is that Sly and the gang are stealing from criminals, so it's kind of like a Robin Hood thing. They're actually good guys. They then go on to find the Fiendish Five, taking back the pages that were stolen from the Thievius Raccoonus. After Sly has defeated 4 of the 5 members, he notices a reappearing image in all of the pictures he has. There seems to be a silhouette of an owl in the background. After a bit of digging, our heroes head off to Russia to investigate, and it is there that they find the lair of Clockwork, the mastermind behind the Fiendish Five, and the one responsible for killing Sly's father. As they start to assault the fortress and make their way in, Sly sees Carmelita Fox captured. See, I told you I'd get back to her. Carmelita has been trying to capture Sly for many years, and after each member of the Fiendish Five Sly took down, Carmelita was there looking for him. She believes that Sly is responsible for all of this, which has led her to continuously follow him. However, Sly is not cold-hearted and lets his feelings get the best of him, where in turn he tries to break her free. With a little help from Bentley, they manage to get her out safely. And so begins a small truce between them. Not forever, but she does promise to give him a 10-second head start once they've taken care of everything here. They continue assaulting the fortress until Sly confronts the mastermind himself, Clockwork. He's been a longtime rival of the Cooper clan and has made it his goal to destroy Sly's line. What makes him interesting is how he's so obsessed with the Cooper clan. His obsession led him to slowly replace all of his organic body parts with robotic ones until his entire body, including his internal organs, were mechanized. This guy's freaking crazy. So this, combined with jealousy and hatred for the Cooper clan, made him essentially immortal. At this point, some of you may be wondering, if he hates the Cooper clan so much, why did he not kill Sly while he was killing his father? To you observant few, I applaud you. And here is the reason. He spared Sly's life in an attempt to prove to the world that the Cooper clan was nothing without the Thievius Raccoonus, which is a belief that Sly quickly proves wrong. After a spectacular victory, Sly meets up with Carmelita, gives her a big old kiss on the cheek, then handcuffs her and runs away. She did give him that 10-second head start as she had promised. However, all is not well, because as the credits end, you see the head of Clockwork and his eye light up. And that, my friends, is the story of Sly Cooper. It's not a very deep plot, but I thought it was pretty cool. And while there is more backstory to the Fiendish Five, it doesn't really affect the main story that much. I will go over it in a bit, but I wanted to give a nice summary of the main story to all of you. So, with that out of the way, let's jump into the gameplay. Sly Cooper's gameplay is an almost perfect marriage of stealth and platforming. I say almost perfect because this entry in the series is much more focused on the platforming elements. Now that's not to say that the stealth parts are bad, because they most certainly aren't, they're just simple. The first two episodes of this game, Tide of Terror and Sunset Snake Eyes, focus primarily on the platforming elements, but episodes 3 and 4 mix the two beautifully. The platforming is top-notch, the controls work wonderfully, and being able to chain the various moves that Sly has is an absolutely fulfilling feeling. But while the platforming is wonderful in this game, the added stealth elements are what really makes it stand apart. Tripwires aplenty, searchlights that scan the area, and guards that you have to sneak past all add something that wasn't seen very often in this genre. When you add the stealth elements in, it becomes a very different game. You have to scan the environment you're in, you can't just run in jumping everywhere, you have to tactfully go through most of these levels. And that is what makes this game such a joy to play. Over the course of the game, you really end up feeling like a master thief, and it's a fantastic accomplishment that the developers managed to pull off. While the platforming and stealth elements mesh beautifully, and all the levels that pertain to those mechanics are an absolute joy to play, there are some added mechanics and gimmicks that are just obnoxious and boring. I haven't had any friends that even knew about this series, so I'm unaware of anyone else's opinion when it comes to these types of missions, but here's mine. Each episode has its own hub, with a variety of missions for you to go on, and I love the implementation of them, and I especially love that before you can even access the hub, you have to sneak your way into it, which I thought was a very nice touch. However, to pad out the game, they added some horrifically boring minigames, one of the worst offenders being the racing minigame with Murray. Now luckily there's only about 2, I believe, but they're just so boring. In these minigames, you take control of Murray and you have to compete in a race that has a pointless reason tacked onto it. I mean seriously, one of them is that you went to get a hot dog and now you're challenged to a race. That's it, that's literally it. The controls aren't too bad once you get used to them, but don't expect to beat this right away because it's pretty much impossible. Throughout the race, you'll find nitro boosts scattered around, which you can pick up to speed ahead of the other racers. Now this is literally the only way to win. You have to nab almost all of them, or else you don't even stand a chance. However, the other racers can pick them up too, depriving you of them. Now while I'm making it sound like a big deal, it really isn't. They just tend to pick them up at the most inconvenient times, which ends up being so frustrating. Now I'm not 100% sure about this, but I believe you have to beat all the missions in each episode to be able to get to the boss. I might be wrong about that, but I just got a little OCD and wanted to clear all of the missions, so I wasn't paying too much attention. While I'm talking about different forms of gameplay, there are Master Thief Sprints, which is the equivalent of time trial mode. Did I try it? Yes. Did I find it fun? No! If you do, however, happen to beat all of the sprints, you get a developer commentary and a behind-the-scenes video. But I didn't find them to be enjoyable in the slightest, so I skipped over them. What I didn't skip over, though, were the clue bottles that you could collect in certain levels. Most levels have clue bottles scattered around that if you collect all of them, will give you the code to open the safe at the end of the mission. While these are completely optional, getting them was just too much fun for me. You can get some fantastic new abilities from them, like being able to move while stealthed, or if you fall into a bottomless pit you won't even die, or even the roll ability, which I will just let that one speak for itself. Going for these wasn't as tedious as I thought it would be, and there happens to be a power-up in each episode that will help you find clue bottles in a level, which can definitely speed up your time finding them considerably. I found it quite rewarding to obtain all of them, because you get a special ending cutscene showing you getting the pages of the Thievius Raccoonus and completing the book. Since we are talking about gameplay, I'd like to bring up the bosses as one of my last segments in this review. But where do I even begin? Well, let's just start with the first boss, Sir Rally. This boss is just downright easy. I mean, honestly, I didn't even get hit once. He jumps around and then you hit him. I mean, he is the first boss, so I guess I can't really expect much else. But a nice touch that was added was after defeating a member of the Fiendish Five, you're presented with a little cutscene showing you escaping from their level and Carmelita Fox trying to nab Sly. But she instead ends up capturing the villain that you took down. And the headlines on the paper that appear always made me chuckle. Moving on from Sir Rally, we encounter Mugshot, who happens to be my least favorite boss in the game. Each member of the Fiendish Five is given a small backstory when you enter the episode, which I thought was pretty cool because it does end up giving them a lot of personality. However, Mugshot's fight is just tedious and downright obnoxious. One of the first things that bothered me about this fight is the fact that they throw you in with a mechanic you've never utilized before. While it is a very simple mechanic, it just felt so out of place and contrived. I mean, seriously, you whack all the mirrors so that they reflect light onto the crystals, and then it destroys his guns? I didn't know that light was the natural enemy of the gun. Okay, I didn't know that. But that's basically the whole fight. And it's not fun in the slightest. Not only that, but if you die, you start with 0 charms, so 1 hit and you're dead. I should probably also talk about the charms in this game. Charms are what let you take an extra hit, and if you collect 100 coins, it gives you a charm. You have a silver charm and a gold charm. Silver means you can take 1 hit, and gold means you can take 2, and boy are these helpful as heck. Back onto the bosses. Miss Ruby is our next member of the Fiendish Five, and I think she might be one of my favorites. She's all about voodoo, and her episode is so fun to play through. When you start the fight with her, you have to platform over the teeth of a giant, dead crocodile? I don't know, I think that's what it is, I'm not 100% sure, but it's tight. Once you get to her, you have to play this DDR-like game, which is surprisingly quite fun. Now, I don't particularly like how it is a new mechanic that is never utilized before, much like Mugshots, but at least this one works and isn't stupid. I should mention that there's a version of this game where the music is out of sync with all of the prompts, and it makes this fight a living nightmare. Luckily for me, I didn't have to go through it, so it was a piece of cake. But you do this minigame, hit her 3 times, and then you're done. It wasn't too difficult, but I had a lot of fun. Our next member of the Fiendish Five is the Panda King, and boy oh boy, what a pushover. If you thought Sir Rally was easy, this boss is a stroll in the park. Starting this fight off, he throws a fireball at you, and all you need to do is just keep going forward at him at an angle, and seriously, you'll never get hit. Once you make your way to him, you'll find out that he has 3 moves he can use: a sweep, a chop, and a double palm move. All of them are ridiculously easy to dodge. From what I've read, apparently this episode with the Panda King was supposed to be the first episode in the game, and that would explain why the boss fight is so easy. So with the Panda King out of the way, we're on to the last member of the Fiendish Five, my personal favorite, Clockwork. This episode and this fight are just superb. While it doesn't focus that much on the core gameplay of Sly Cooper, it brings everyone into the picture for a final push. Murray helps out, Bentley helps out, heck, even Carmelita helps out. It is a fantastic final level, even with all of its gimmicks. Now, the fight itself can be a bit obnoxious at times, but I figured out the patterns relatively fast, and I took him down with no trouble. Once you've knocked him out of the air, you have to platform over to him and beat the crap out of him. It is just an incredibly satisfying moment, and I absolutely loved this fight. While most of the earlier fights were incredibly easy, this one was remarkable and a fantastic way to end the game. Sly Cooper is an incredibly fun game when it focuses on what it's good at, which is the combination of platforming and stealth. I wish that the game wasn't so padded out with pointless, uninteresting minigames, but hey. All in all, Sly Cooper is a fantastic game that I would recommend to anyone who enjoys platformers. Thank you guys so much for watching this review. If you enjoyed it, please hit that thumbs up, share it with your friends. Your guys' support is fantastic, and you're the reason why I'm able to continue doing videos like this, so I really appreciate it when you hit that thumbs up button. So I'm going to be doing a little marathon of Sly Cooper games, and the next one is obviously going to be Sly Cooper 2, so we'll be jumping into that in hopefully a little over a week or something like that. I don't really know, I gotta get working on that. But thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you on Sly 2. My name is Mr. Hewbz.